as we mark World Water Day, we speak to Gundo Maswime. He's a lecturer in the Civil Engineering Department at the University of Cape Town about his concerns that municipalities cannot afford to maintain water infrastructure. He says rural provinces such as the Northwest, Limpopo and the Eastern Cape were also culprits of appointing unqualified people to manage the services. Mr. Maswime, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. With this issue of broken water infrastructure, you call it a ticking time bomb. Please expand for us.
Yeah, thank you, and good afternoon. The issue is a ticking time bomb in the sense that a point will be reached, and it has surely we have surely seen some signs in certain parts of the country where people are not going to be able to receive water almost indefinitely. And when that point is reached, then there will be a lot of focus on an issue. But by that time, you will remember water infrastructure is so vast that sometimes you need a lot of time to actually bring it back to a point where people can receive water. So when that point is reached, especially in urban areas because even in rural municipalities, there are some smaller towns and cities. Some are relatively bigger, like Thohoyandou, Lutrichard, and so on.
What will get us to that point where the taps run dry, you suggest, is the backlog in the maintenance of water infrastructure at municipalities being so high. In my very simple thinking, this sounds like a problem that can be very well fixed, and we didn't need to get here.
Yes, it's a problem that can be fixed, but the kind of decision making that has to happen before we can begin to fix the problem is what the government has been failing to do for many years now. And now the fear is what will have changed for them to be able to make such decisions. You must remember, water infrastructure was not built for people in many instances across the country. It was built for the farming community, and later for the mining community and the secondary industries that come from that. So it was only after the National Water Act of 1999 where it was decided that we are now going to put people as first priority. So in many instances where the water schemes are located, it's not where people live, so the infrastructure is poorly located. So that would have required a lot of technical input and financial input to really bring water to where the people are. Some of it has been done successfully, but we are seeing now instances where the institutional arrangements are so variable. If you go to one province, you find they've got water boards. You go to another province, you'll find that the municipality is responsible. You go to another place, the district as opposed to the local municipality. Then you go to Gauteng, city of Johannesburg has got a completely different arrangement. So it has not been harmonized. And if we need to harmonize it, we need to say for this type of municipality, this seems to work, and for this type, this seems to work. We haven't reached that point yet. There's no consensus. So in many instances, you'll find that the type of funding the municipality receives, there's no way they'll get around the water problem.
And this as the Minister of Water and Sanitation this afternoon, or this morning rather, in a briefing to the nation, saying that South Africa does not have a water crisis.
Well, that would not be accurate to say, but I would interpret it as saying that what is on the critical path now is not the shortage of the resource of water as a resource. But what is now on the critical path is the maintenance of water infrastructure. I'll give you an example. In most of the Mbembe district in Limpopo, they have been doing water shedding for at least the past 10-15 years. And it gets worse with time. In December, when people are using water, it's completely closed. But that part of the country has a massive dam called Nandoni Dam that has been built. But the local municipalities, including the district, which has the function, are unable to reticulate that water. So it really sits there in the dam. Some communities, some are very close to the dam, cannot access the water. So there's more water there than that could serve most of the people, but very few people are getting water from the dam. So I will take that the minister means that when he says that the problem is not a shortage of water. He means that the problem right now is infrastructure, but there are some parts of the country that are water scarce, and we have seen instances in the city of Cape Town a few years ago. And with these erratic weather patterns, we can expect to see more of that.
If water is life, then what is it that you and I can do, given that we are directly impacted by this? We know the problems. What's the solution?
I think the final solution will come from the government looking at municipality by municipality. I think starting with the funding formula for local government, the Peter Bush formula, which has prioritized provincial and national government that cannot do reticulation, that can only do the building of dams and so on. That is the first step. But individuals doing rainwater harvesting, which is assisting to an extent, it's still not enough. If the government fails complete, the rainwater harvesting is not going to be enough to actually cover the backlog or the shortage. The other thing is people sinking boreholes everywhere. In peri-urban areas, it's not always practical because the water is polluted coming from underground, especially where there are sanitation issues as well. So this requires a comprehensive strategy which the Department of Water Affairs has, but to move from strategy to implementation, that has been the challenge over the years. And I think a point will be reached where there will be agency of implementation, and only then government will invest its energy and resources into implementation and not further planning and further studies and research must start focus on the science of implementation. That is where it's going to have to go to.
Implementation is the name of the game. Thank you very much to Gundo Maswime, lecturer in the Civil Engineering Department at the University of Cape Town.